Thank you very much. Thanks for your patience there. I know it's a long night, especially if you're standing up, as most of you are. We've got some more questions on here that have been submitted by email in advance. We will give some of you the chance to throw some questions at Michael, Ben and Mike as well once you've been through all of these, but we did say that everything will get put to the club, so we will read out every question that's here. If each question doesn't get answered, perhaps because it's the same as the previous one, just worded slightly differently, then we're only grouping them together to save time, but every question has been seen, has been looked at, so you haven't been ignored, and it's nothing personal. As I say, no question on here is attributed to any fan, there's no names on here, so we're not against any one individual or individuals, just to make that clear again, because I know there's a lot of suspicion and perhaps a bit of distrust as well, but trust me, that is the case. We're going to read every question out, but we're going to start this bit with something about shareholders, because that came up in the first section and one or two people have mentioned it during the break. Mike Coulson, can you talk about shareholders, because Ranjan is the owner, but there are some supporters that do hold shares in Gateshead Football Club?
Yeah, I think we've got about 120 shareholders, give or take. Most were fans. I believe when John Gibson was chairman, we had like a share issue, and fans were offered shares in blocks of, I can't remember, 100, 200 kind of thing. And quite a few fans that I knew took advantage and bought shares, not for the investment, but just to show their support for the club. The owner, Ranjan, owns about 99% of the shares. So he's got absolute control, and he's the firm owner. I heard a question a while ago about annual general meetings. We used to have the AGM every year, and I can name now the people that came. There was Mickey Thornton, Tommy Dolman, Ernie Curry, and somebody else I can't remember. There was only 3 or 4 came year in, year out. And the actual meeting itself lasted 5 minutes, and there's a tremendous amount of work went into it for such a short period of time. The Companies Act 2006 did away with the need for companies like ours to have an AGM. It wasn't necessary. So basically it saved us a whole load of paperwork and time. Anybody who wants to see our financial situation, our accounts are lodged with Companies House, and they are a matter of public record, so there's no hiding that. The other things that happened at AGMs were the fans were asking questions. Personally, I'd rather have this kind of format, where fans can come on an informal night like this, have a few beers, ask whatever questions they want, and hopefully they will get a downside more than that than a formal AGM agenda. Is that correct?
I think so. There was a question about the AGM. It was some small shareholders, mostly fans, have remarked they've had no contact from the club, opportunity to attend an AGM or copies of accounts in recent times. Is there a problem? I think you've outlined the situation there, haven't you? Another question was, what is the financial situation at the club? That was covered extensively in the first part, but again, if you want to ask something about that in a little while, that's of course fine. There's a couple of questions here about loan players, and I think you can probably all answer part of this. It is, are we likely to bring any more players in on loan? And what about players going back to their clubs that have been on loan? Luke Molyneux and Luke Armstrong, Ainsley Pears is here for the season, so all of you in any order about loan players in and out.
Yeah, it's been well publicised that obviously Luke Armstrong went back January the 1st. We did want him to play in the Hartlepool match, but Middlesbrough, they wouldn't allow him. But actually, we've been speaking to Middlesbrough for quite a while with regard to trying to retain him, and the original idea was mooted of taking him back on loan. Luke actually signed a new contract with Middlesbrough, which was lucrative for him. As a club, we'd agreed if we were going to take him back on loan, they wanted us to pay him £1,500 a week. We agreed to that, and we thought that might actually go through. But then obviously Luke's done so well. Middlesbrough saw the fact that he went from nothing really. I mean, end of last season it was touch and go if they're going to offer Luke a contract, which they did for another season. He's come to Gateshead, he's done fantastically well, and all of a sudden, you know, League One, League Two clubs were knocking. It was said at the start of the season, it seemed to be a bit of a Chinese whisper that Middlesbrough said you can take him on loan or you can buy him for £10,000, but it turns out that was never the case. After the loan option was turned down about ourselves paying for him, we did put an official bid into Middlesbrough to buy him for £100,000. Again, that was knocked back. And as you see, he went to train with Middlesbrough for a couple of weeks. Then now at Accrington in League One, and on his debut, he was made man of the match, which is great. With regard to Luke Molyneux, there was never a recall in his. It was just a 3-month contract. He went back to Sunderland, and it seems that Sunderland aren't going to offer him a new contract at the end of the season. His agent got involved. He's gone back, had a couple of weeks. His agent thought he could get in the League One, League Two club. Turns out that he couldn't, and because we're on embargo, we couldn't take Luke Molyneux back, as opposed to the rumours in the Sunderland Echo that were going around. So.
Ben, loan players, I presume you'd look to go down that route again. You've had players from Sunderland and Middlesbrough this season, none from Newcastle, but trying to use your relationships there to get young lads in?
Yeah, definitely. I think the loan system's good if the deal's right. So, you know, the deal's got to be right on both sides. I think, if anything, we're giving that player the opportunity to progress, and I think the financial side's got to be. You know, we've had a lot of loan players throughout whenever since I've been at the club, and it does take them quite a while to get used to the league. I think the most successful one that we've had, I would say, would probably be James Tavernier, and that's going back 4 or 5 years, or even maybe a bit longer. That long, Paul Dummett, you know, he did really well, but it does take them quite a long time for the young lads to adjust to it. On Luke, you know, Luke had a year at Blythe, so I think he knew what it was. He came in and he's done fantastic. Ainsley will go back at the end of the season, and we've got to be honest, I think Ainsley will probably look to go in the league next year, and that's how highly Middlesbrough rate him. So yeah, we will look to play him in, but it's got to be right. The deal's got to be right on both sides, and we'll be looking for the right players. But it's definitely something we'll be looking at.
I'll just say one thing about the loan system. You know, we've learned a lot in the last 6 months, and you know, even the league club has explained how we should be doing it. For instance, if Middlesbrough they're being loaned a player from the Premier League, when he comes in on day one, he's given a value. Once he leaves them and then he's sold on, the value that the club's actually developed is shared between the mother club and the loan club. And going forward, if we're going to work on loans, it'll either be free loans where we have no comeback with regard to development fees, but if we're going to be paying the wages, a proportion of the wages, we're going to make sure that the club is covered for, you know, developing the players, and we don't end up with the same, you know, the situation with regard to Luke Armstrong.
That was going to be my next question about the fees involved in loan deals. So we'll do a couple more from the list here.
Can I actually?
Yeah, go on.
Just to explain a bit more about you're led to believe by the parent club that you're paying a proportion of their wages. Let's say you're paying half, but sometimes it turns out you're actually paying all the wages. But on top of that, you're also paying the national insurance, and on top of that, you're paying VAT on top. So it looks at something like £500, but it soon mounts up to something much more.
It was reported the club had incurred a league fine of £10,000. Is this true? If so, does the club not believe the fans should have been informed? A newspaper reported a few weeks ago that the club was fined by the league for £10,000. And why were the fans not told why that was?
Yeah, I mean, Mike can explain a bit more, but in general, matters that come from the National League are treated confidentially. The league wouldn't say anything, but there is information that gets leaked out, unfortunately, to the press.
The fine was surrounding the first time we got put into player embargo. The league required us to do things like budgets within a certain time frame. For whatever reason, that didn't happen, and we got fined 10 grand for it. It's as simple as that. Our mistake, really. You don't always wash your dirty linen in public, do you? I mean, if there's any benefit to anybody to know we got fined 10 grand? I mean, if it comes to that, we got fined 400 quid because Stevie Watson didn't wear a jackal coat after the away game at Barnet. And we got fined £150 because at the away game at Bromley, Nicky Cummins took the team sheet in to see the referee, and he's only the assistant manager. Steve didn't go in, he gave the job to Nicky, and the league rules says it has to be the manager. So that's £150. So we've been fined in total £10,550 this season. And that's it so far. Mind you, it's just January.
There's a few more here on finance and on budgets. I think some of these topics were covered earlier, but does the club plan to increase its overall budget for next season, or do they plan to continue to run the club on one of the lowest budgets in the league? You did allude to the approach to next season, but do you know anything more about the numbers at the moment, or is it dependent on the club's turnover?
Well, I was down to the turnover, but I mean, we haven't really planned so much of next season because we're taking each match as it comes, and who knows, we could be in League 2 next season. But moving forward, if we are in the National League next season, we will be working again with Ben, recruiting local players with the same ethos as we've done.
There was a question on the business plan, and that was part of the business plan, wasn't it? About contracts for players that are still at the club. Do we have funds in place for new contracts for players for now and for next season?
Yeah. All the players we have at the club at the moment are contracted until our last league game of the season. If we get to the playoffs, those contracts are automatically extended. So that means that no current player can leave the club without us saying yes. As far as next season's concerned, this week I've been speaking to some players' agents, eventually with a view to discussing contracts for next season. Wouldn't be appropriate to say, well, I've talked to so-and-so's agent and so-and-so's agent, but I can imagine if you've been listening to what Ben's been saying, and about the squad of players we've got, you have a reasonable idea of the players that we're going to try and tie down for next season. The problem with players is, they won't say yes now. An awful lot of them will wait until the summer, until they're out of contract, and then see what's on the go, see what kind of offers that come in. So if you don't hear anything straight away, don't think we're not talking to players, but we are talking, but they just biding their time, which is understandable. We don't always jump at the first offer. But we are starting to talk. I'm talking to one player's agent this week and probably two more next week. So that's where we're at. I mean, as far as the squad's concerned, in the past couple of years with various kind of managers, when Aspin came in, he had a cull, a bit like a till of the Hun, and he took out the whole squad. And that, to me, was the beginning of the slide. And since then, we've changed a huge number of players every single year, every season. So you're starting off every season with a new bunch of players. That isn't easy. The advantage of having local lads, hopefully, is the ones that move on, or the ones that make progress, or the ones that haven't quite lived up to expectation and go to other clubs. So I think next season we're looking more at tweaking and adding a bit of quality rather than wholesale changes, without trying to preempt what Ben's going to do. But that's the way we're going to see it at the moment.
There's one here about selling players. If there's to be any chance of the playoffs, it's imperative we don't sell players from the current squad. Michael, I've already asked you about Scott Bowden and Robbie Tinkler. Can the club confirm this will be the case? And then Ben, you obviously don't want to lose anybody because you've just lost a couple of big players as well.
Well, I think because of the way how well the squad's come, I mean, the amount of scouts that are attending the games is increasing more and more. Certain players getting a lot of coverage, but from our point of view, we don't want to lose any players, and we can't afford to because we have an embargo, so we can't replace them anyway. So it's that's from the club point of view. But there is interest in players from other clubs.
Yeah, I think it's just, it's what, 3 months to the end of the season now, and if players are wanted now, we could be in a better position come 3 months' time, particularly with our lads, because they are getting better every game, and listen, we're not in a position to lose any of them.
On a different subject now, that of turnstile operations. Why did the club sack its gate staff and treasurer who volunteered their time and efforts for many years? Who made that decision? Why were 4 long-serving experienced turnstile operators removed by a third-party club official contact, but not directly by those who made the decision, only for them to be replaced by more inexperienced turnstile operators? Why is Joe Calla on the turnstiles when he clearly has no clue what he's doing, opening late, leaving the turnstiles, switching turnstiles, operating them by himself, which not only forms long queues and narks people, but also raises safety concerns? Michael, firstly, any or all of them?
No, I'm happy to cover them. Yeah, I mean, with regard to employers changing since the new regime came in, in the first couple of months, all the systems were looked at, where changes could be made, where we thought improvements could be made. I mean, I've watched myself non-league football, Northern League football, and been involved in non-league clubs myself, and the work both volunteers and paid people do put into the club doesn't go unnoticed. But it was thought, when new people take over businesses, there are changes that have to be made, and some of them are tough and controversial. With regard to Joe on the turnstile, we're trying to make sure that he's always has someone with him as well to assist him, because Mr. Cullen, David Cullen, our safety officer, he does shout a lot about turnstiles being open late and everything. Again, people seem to have suspicions that he's doing the turnstiles so he can steal money, but steal money from a club where Ranjan has to put £30,000 in a month is not exactly the best thing to be doing. And also, he's learned quite a lot manning the turnstile with regard to, there was a point where maybe 200, 250 people seemed to end up coming into the match free of charge somehow. So we've been making changes with regard to complimentary tickets and these types of things. So, and I must admit, even at the time I worked at Turnstile, I did learn quite a bit as well. So.
Just 1 or 2 more on turnstiles here. Why are tickets being ripped and people who don't buy an adult ticket being overly scrutinised? For example, students and under 16s, despite providing proof. And why is there so little change on the turnstiles for people wanting to pay in cash? This person here, again, no names on any of these, paid with a £20 note and received no change.
We don't know what happened next. He didn't. Well, that was an issue that was addressed. As I said, I haven't worked the turnstiles for quite a while. With regard to students and any concessions, there are supposed to be presenting ID, and once that's presented, that should be good enough. And there was with regard to ripping tickets, I can't really answer that question. It's just something that Joe seems to like to do, to keep, he rips one half, puts it in the box, gives the other half, and when he comes back, he counts how many stubs he has to see what the crowd was. But now we're starting to use more proper tickets now as well. So he must have some ticket ripping fetish rather than anything but. And since I've known him, I call him Crazy Joe, and that is one of the ticket ripping issues. Is one of those traits of his.
Maybe the next one of these we'll have Joe on stage and we can ask him.
We're talking about for the charity putting Joe in the stocks and people chucking wet sponges in. That could be a good fundraiser. So.
I've got questions on academy, but also I'll go back to that in a moment. But fan base. Despite the club's relatively small fan base, several fans appear to be discussing the pros and cons of creating a breakaway club based on their lack of confidence in the current ownership. If this was to occur, it would likely to have a catastrophic effect on the current setup by splitting the club's support. What are the owners' hierarchy's thoughts on this potential future development?
Who said that, Lee? Who said that?
No name on this?
You would normally get a Phoenix club when the parent club goes bust. The implications of setting up a second club, firstly, yeah it is. Firstly, where are you going to play? How are you going to fund it? Who's going to run it?
Do it somewhere park.
Davy Gathers and John Young up front.
Because if you are going to organise a club, you need a league to play in. And the only league that you can apply to play in, because it's a Premier system, is the Northern Alliance League. And we have a team in that league to start with. So you've got absolutely no chance of setting up a pyramid club and competing with Gateshead Football Club like that. It's just a complete non-starter. And I suspect it's more born out of frustration than actual genuine intent to do it.
Mike and Michael, I think, for this next one, I always like talking about this. I know you all enjoy this subject. It's been around for a while. Are the club committed and actively pursuing other stadium options, as the Gateshead International Stadium is not fit for purpose? That's this question. What is the position about a potential new stadium with Ranjan as the owner?
We are looking at stadiums. I can't say too much, but we have a meeting in 3 weeks to discuss a potential new stadium site with some developers. So, but we agree there is a need to find a football-specific stadium at some point. Obviously, it's not the quickest thing that could be done, but it is on the agenda.
Yeah, I've been coming to Gateshead for over 20 years, and I was told the stadium didn't have fitness for purpose. But it does have fitness for purpose. Every year we apply for the Football League and have to undergo a number of tests. And with a couple of tweaks, we've got a Football League stadium. It isn't a football ground, it's a sports ground. And it isn't the ideal, but it's the only one in Gateshead that's up to the standard that we play in at the moment. There's not an alternative in the borough of Gateshead. There's been talk of going to Kingston Park, there's been talk of ground sharing with Shields or forming a new club and stuff like that. They're all complete non-starters. We've got what we've got, and it's a big stadium, and it'll do until such time that we get alternative ground.
There's been a significant drop-off in home attendances in recent matches, despite the team being in contention for a playoff spot virtually all season. Do the club have any plans to address this, and if so, what? Other than a strong social media presence, there seems to be little local awareness about the club. What does the club plan to do about that, about spreading the word?
Actually, I was surprised myself when David Cullen did the figures. The average attendance actually gone up this season, which was very, it's 903 the average or something, he said. So, but with regard to what we can do as a club, with regard to working with the community, today we had a meeting with regard to the community foundation side of things, and we're going to be in the process of taking on a full-time the role as community activator. So working alongside the community, delivering projects, and also working with our community coaches as well. So this can cover many different aspects. So from a club point of view, we are going to be we're going to relaunch the foundation. We're just at the moment of sorting that out. We're looking to try and bring back Gateshead FC Juniors back under the fold of the club. They've got 14 teams at the moment. We're looking to set up a girls teams, ladies teams as well. So, but you know, with regard to anything to try and get more bums on seats, we do want to listen to the fans. I know there was a fundraiser previously, and there was an amount of money raised, and I think we're looking at that to go on marketing materials, and so any feedback is gratefully received.
There's one here about flex season tickets. Will it be possible to reintroduce them to allow fans who work shifts to be flexible with the matches they can attend?
I didn't know their past existence, so it's the first time I've heard about that, so we can look at that anyway.
Yeah, we used to offer around about Christmas time a half season tickets, and then we had a flex 10, which gave the holder admittance to 10 league games of his choice. We did that for a season. The ticket wasn't particularly good, and with the fan numbers we've got, I think we've got a season ticket base of 150, 160. If there's enough interest in that, it is something that we could have a look at. It's just a question of numbers.
Couple more from me on here, and I've got a couple for Ben, and then it's over to you. I'll put all these together. How does the club plan to mend the obviously strained relations between the fans and owner? Can the management team have regular meetings with supporters? Will there be more transparency in the future from the hierarchy? I guess this is a start, Michael.
Yeah. And as I said previously, we intend to have more fan forums as well. Trying to find out when Van Jansen's going to be across, and we can get him to come along. I mean, with regard to transparency, we do feel financially we are very, very transparent, and that's how the football should be. It's interesting to look at Andy Holt, owner of Accrington Stanley's, his viewpoint of being transparent, and he does regularly state exactly match income, match expenditure, and all this type of things. But no, it is important, and hopefully this first meeting will be build the bridge between the club and the fans.
Ben, taking into account all the negativity that surrounded the club in the last few weeks and indeed months, I guess, with off-field matters, how important was it that you got such a great result in your first match, and like the team in general this season, one that probably exceeded many people's expectations, away to Salford, who are probably still favourites for the title?
Yeah, it was a long 10 days. Really, to be honest, I was itching for a game midweek really. It was good because it gave us 10 days for Scotty to get back fit, which is great, which has been. But to get a performance like we did, I think anybody that went to the game, first half was, some of the football we played was brilliant. Probably dominated the ball, and second half was the total opposite, where Salford were on top for the majority of the second half, but for one save where Ainsley's made, they didn't really hurt us. And for me, whoever finishes above Salford will win the league. So it was a fantastic point, and just really looking forward to Saturday now. Can I just say, can you just be with the players? Yeah, what's going on off the field is something that will get sorted, but I appreciate how you're all coming tonight. Come Saturday, get behind the players. They've done fantastic. We're in a great position. We don't have thousands of fans, but the ones that come, you make a hell of a noise. So when it comes to kick-off on Saturday, really get behind the players, get behind me, and we'll have a right good go at the end of the season.
And the last section on the list that we have here that was sent to the club, it's been stated on the club's website in a recent Q&A that the club has no knowledge of Gateshead Football Academy Limited, so the assumption can be made that current football club owners/owners do not know the current director, named Nigel Harrop, or the director who resigned on the 7th of January this year, Michael Di Stefano, from this company as listed with Companies House. And what is the current situation with an academy? A lot was made of this, yet there doesn't seem to have been any developments. What is this academy, Michael, what is this academy situation all about?
With regard to Michael Di Stefano, as you know, it's on public record that there was a name change from Belper Town Football Academy, then changed to Gateshead Football Club Academy Limited, and that was without our knowledge. He came up and had some various meetings. I think his original idea was to create an international football academy based in Gateshead, but since then everything has changed. We are in the process, we've had meetings now the last couple of months with the college is going to be the education provider. Currently, how it's been with regard to the under-19s, which are now called the reserves, it's been more like the tail wagging the dog. Everyone seems to think that our under-19 is a college team, which isn't. You know, the players are contracted to the football club. But where we're going to change now, there's going to be a new under-18 academy formed, which will bring in about 40 players. There'll be an academy first team and academy reserves. They will be part of the football club. They'll be scouted by the football club, and the same goes with our current under-19s. You see, previously with the college, it seemed to be a case of anyone could join the under-19s just to make up the numbers, so the college should get the funding, and it wasn't nothing to do with ability-wise. But now the football club's going to actively recruit players to go into the reserve team. We're also working with Ben to look future where players who aren't involved in the first team squad will play in the reserve team as well. So we're working on those. We're looking in the early April, next couple of weeks, to actually put the first press launch about the academy. They'll begin trials and recruitment leading up to next summer. So basically, the setup will be the first team, reserves, academy first team, academy reserves. And we feel with Gateshead, we do offer the best player pathway for a young footballer to get into professional football, looking on the lines of Tom White, Elliot Forbes, John Mellish, who've come through from last season. There's a number of players that we're looking to sign from this current batch of players as well. And you know, in general, our competition for the academy is the likes of South Shields of the Academy and Parkview that's associated with Carlisle United. But as I say, we do think we'll have a proper player pathway for the young players, to get players who are leaving school and those who've been released by the likes of Middlesbrough, Sunderland and Newcastle as well. So there's a lot of exciting things happening based around the academy and developing future players. I've mentioned before, similar to the Athletic Bilbao model as well. You know, recruiting players locally, and this is our focus.
Anything to add on that? Anyone? No? Thank you for all of that. I don't know how we are for time. 9:10. 9:10. So we have a bit of time left. Just take some questions. Put your hand up. Shout out. We'll try and keep some sort of order to it. If it's about a topic that's been discussed earlier, whether it's Joe, Michael, Steve Watson, whatever, that doesn't matter. We're happy to reiterate some of the messages, talk about other things. There will be stuff that we've missed as well because it wasn't sent in on here, so please, who would like to start?
Yeah, I just want to ask about Graham Wood. Is it true that he resigned from life president, and if so, did he give any reasons why?
Yes, he did resign his life presidency. He said he didn't want it to be associated with Joe Carter.
What did the role of Life President actually mean in real terms? Is it just a title, just so that he's effectively linked to the club? Yeah. So you didn't do anything with Gateshead day to day or any involvement?
No, Graham is currently chairman of Hampton and Richmond in the Conference South, so he couldn't have any active involvement with Gateshead. It was purely an honorary role in recognition of the time he spent with the club and the fantastic work he'd done.
So, if Joe Calla wanted to buy Portsmouth, Morecambe, whoever else, when he came to Gateshead, why didn't he want to buy Gateshead? Why did he just want to be in a financial advisor role?
Really, because of the issues that involved in Morecambe, he didn't want to be the chairman of a football club. You can see what happened at Morecambe with regard to press, at Portsmouth with regard to press. He really didn't want to come forward and lead the football club in that way, because of a lot to do with the way the press treated him, and his focus has been on the financial side of things.
Yeah, just because I want. So, why did you fail the fit and proper test the first time you tried to buy the club?
Sorry?
Why did we fail the fit and proper test the first time you tried to buy the club?
Who failed?
There was a report going out that someone tried to buy the club and failed the fit and proper test on the first time.
No, actually, the reason why the first sale didn't go through was all down to the National League and the budget, so it was nothing to do with failing fit and proper. The only people who applied for fit and proper was myself and Ranjan.
Okay.
Thanks.
Nice one, Colin.
Anyone else?
Hi, Steve Watson. He was on a contract. Why did you accept his resignation?
Wanted to leave, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't in the office, Mike was in the office, maybe he can explain better, but he turned up and wanted to leave.
Yeah, the contract Steve was on is different to a footballer's contract. A footballer is contracted for the length of his contract, which is normally the full season. Steve had an employment contract, much the same as all of us in here. If you have a job, where you just have to give so much notice. So it isn't a case of him having to stay for the season or saying no. Steve came to us and said he wanted to leave, and there's not much any of us could
So
actually
why was
do.
he put on a contract like that?
Sorry?
Why was he put on a contract like that?
It was a standard employment contract, much like all managers are. What kind of contract did you have in mind?
Well, there's previous managers in the league have tried to resign and offered the resignation, and it's been knocked back.
I remember Neil Aspin offered to resign, and the chairman said, no, you don't have to. But I can't remember anybody else offering the resignation and being told no.
I just can't understand how you had such a good manager and you just walk like that with no compensation.
Want a better one now?
I'm not having to go a club.
There's a limit as to what you can do to keep somebody at the club. I mean, Steve started off the season on a relatively low contract, and after negotiations with his agent, he was given a new improved offer. So we did have a good deal. We just felt that he wanted to go to York because of the reasons already stated.
I can understand that, but the blokes walked away with no compensation. We've got no compensation whatsoever. Absolutely nothing. What do you think we feel like? Feel as if we've been let down by the lot of us?
It was agreed not to put anything in the contract as far as compensation was concerned.
So
There was an agreement made with the manager.
did the previous contract have a compensation clause in it?
I believe they had, yes. Yes.
It was Steve Watson's decision not to have the compensation fund.
Or was agent's decision anyway?
It was, yeah, his agent,
Yeah.
yeah. Steve didn't do the actual talking, it was all done.
It was as far as agent.
Why was that agreed to if he was already...
Sorry, Don?
Why was that agreed to if he was already under contract where we would get some compensation for it?
He wasn't,
You just said that he...
no, I didn't say Steve was under contract with compensation.
You did? You said it
Did I?
was.
Yeah,
Previous
previous contract.
Previous contract, have compensation, and you said yes?
That is, I apologise. I thought, no. Steve's original contract did not have any compensation. No. So,
So, just to clarify, because of what a few people have been sort of voicing on that issue.
Yeah.
With the renegotiation of his contract under the present ownership, it hadn't been overlooked the fact that somebody made a massive cock-up and not putting in a compensation contract that if somebody else come in for him, that at least the club will be compensated for losing their manager.
no, it was not overlooked. I discussed that, and it was agreed between Steve's representative and the owners that that wouldn't get put in.
So he may not have signed a contract had that been in. He obviously wanted a contract to suit him. If that had been in, perhaps he wouldn't have signed the new deal. Is that fair?
That's an assumption. I don't want to put words into. That's an assumption. Yeah, but could be perhaps.
I guess we won't know unless Steve tells us.
Well, Steve, as I say, Steve was involved in the contract. It was his agent who did all the talking. So.
Yeah.
It was reported that Joseph Calla was arrested at Bologna railway station with €6,000 fake notes. I don't know if he was found guilty or innocent, but suspicions obviously arise.
No, I've no idea about this 6,000 quantity, but he was in Bologna railway station. He went to pay for some coffee and food, and it turns out that the note he'd got was fake. He'd previously come in from Turkey, and he got in the airport. He'd changed some euros, but he wasn't found guilty or anything. So, but he was found with false £50 euro notes on him. That is correct. But he wasn't charged or found guilty or anything.
Yeah?
Well, I've not seen all the games. I can only judge what I've seen of the games that I have seen. But I think we're definitely short of a striker. I think we're great at the back. We're strong at the back. We've got lots of cover there. The midfield, I think we're okay in midfield. We've got young Lewis Manoni who's come back. You haven't seen the best of Lewis. Lewis is going to be a good player for the football club. But that group of players, obviously I would like more, but from the group of players that I think the strikers are one that we definitely need to strengthen.
Cheers. Do you want to say me?
Not a
I'm a
desperate.
good striker.
How much?
I'm a good striker.
How much?
You're mix up.
That'll do.
Yeah. Can't play with it. Any day.
Can I ask you, obviously you're in a transfer bar, there's a massive deficit at the club. Why dare you put £100,000 bids in for Armstrong? Surely that £100,000 bid would be better go towards shrinking the deficit.
It was actually done to try and help Steve keep the player and build the squad.
But if you've got a deficit, surely that £100,000 is better to shorten the deficit.
No, like I said, the main focus then was to try and help Steve build his squad, and that's what he did all along. I mean, every player Steve asked for, we gave him. There was no players he turned down.
£100,000 is the biggest third of the budget. So it's the biggest amount we've ever paid for.
Yes, yeah, it was £9,000 about. Beside that.
Do you think Armstrong will be worth at the end of this season?
We think he's valued at £300,000 now by Middlesbrough. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying about the way he's been developed while he's at Gateshead. So Middlesbrough tell us anyway. So.
But I think what you were saying there was, if that money's there to spend on a player, why is it not maybe used on on other.
I'm trying to lift the embargo for a
Well,
bloody
no,
start.
like I said, all the information's gone into the league now with regard to finances. They know what Ranjan's going to put in between now and the end of the season, so we're quite sure the embargo is going to be lifted anyway. So.
Anyone else?
Yeah, on a lighter note, just change the subject and welcome Clark, you all looking forward to seeing what you're going to do this season. After the game, we all generally go to the bar, have a few beers, but all of a sudden now the council stewards have thrown us out after 10 minutes. Going back a season or two, some of the players used to come into the bar, crack on with the fans and just get a bit more interaction with each other. And I'm just wondering, where's that gone, or can we look at improving that? I mean, the rumours I'm hearing is Gated won't pay for a steward to man the bar. The Gated council are saying it just seems trivial. I think if we go on the match, a lot of people will stay behind in the bar and have 2 or 3 beers. If a couple of the players come in, just a bit of interaction again with everybody.
Especially local lads as well.
With regard to the bar, it's supposed to be open for an hour after. So.
It's been changed now to an hour.
It is an hour now.
It
Yeah.
has now,
Okay.
right? Alright, okay then. But it would be nice. It would be nice to see. I know obviously, Clark, you've got your job to do with the sponsors and people like that. But it'd be lovely just to see you coming in, one of the man of the match lad. You know, you said, look, I'm coming in now after the game, half an hour, just to see the fans. You know, just be nice.
No, I'm all for that. I think it's important that you do get to talk to the players and just like I say, just a little bit of crack. It only has to be 10 minutes.
Yeah.
10 minutes might be too long with some of them because they are kind of boring. Like, but no, I'm all for that. I think yes, Pete.
Definitely, we did of course do that for a while. We used to bring the man of the match down to Mickey's bar. After a while, whether it was apathy or whatever, we were coming down and maybe there was 6, 7 supporters left at the bar. So, you know, guys, it has to be a two-way street. We've sorted this out with Bernard.
Peter, in fairness, the problem was the fact that you kept the fans hanging on because the players were pulled into corporate and the fans were left hanging and hanging and hanging. Exactly. And that's what it was. Exactly. And the best ones we had was when Ben came down and Ben talked to the fans. Peter, you were fantastic, but the regime at the time had them up at corporate before the fans could see. And the fans would hang around for half an hour to 45 minutes. You did fantastic to sort that out for it, and I really appreciate what you did for it, because it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have got anything.
But Bernard, it's one of these, like, devil, you know, you bug if you do, you bug if you don't. The problem is, when you get your man of the match, he's the first person that's caught by the media. He's the first person that's caught by Dom and the team for post-match interviews. So upstairs in corporate, we get the entire team practically. But if you go and choose someone like Mike Williamson, who's probably the last out the shower at the best of times anyway, by the time he goes out...
Do you know how long he spends in the bar?
Who do you think owns his soap?
By the time he gets infused down the side of the pitch and he pulls up to get his man of the match, corporate gone anyway. So by the time we get them back down to that's why.
People can sort that. It doesn't have to be the man of the match that goes up. It can be. You could just split the squad into.
It wasn't because you've done it, and you've done it in the past. You weren't playing. You were there in your role as in coaching, and you did it. And they were some of the best times we had because what you did, Ben, was fantastic because you understand the fans.
No,
and that's what it's about, understanding the fans.
No, it's just if there's 6 here in there, it doesn't matter. We'll still come in there. So we'll get that sorted. We'll get that sorted.
Just have the corporate man of the match in the bloody ball.
We've got time for a few more. Yeah.
Just back on that subject as well. I know in the previous times it was like Peter ran the questions and it was like it was a bit structured and formal and things like that. It doesn't have to be like before we had all that. We'd sit in the cafe, we'd have a drink, and then the players would walk past on the way into corporate and we'd have a bit crack with them. All it needs is a bit crack. It's not formal questions, things like that. It's just getting to know them, getting to know what the lads are like.
Ben, we did take questions from the fans in there.
Yeah.
We'd start off by asking, I do an interview right, so say, so how was the game for you? But then we'd throw it over to the floor. So I would dispute that. We did
I'm just saying it was very structured and formal. It was still formal.
That would be you.
Got a question at the back there.
Well,
When the players actually come round and shake hands, everybody who's there, and it's a genuine feeling between the players and the fans.
Yeah.
Well, the fight between the two of them, both together. Of course, but it's a positive thing, we shouldn't forget that.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Yeah, just a question on me about the youth side. My son Thomas plays for one of the Gateshead youth teams, and Ben's coached him a couple of times at the leisure centre. And Gateshead, as you know, Matthew, because you did the awards at the end of last season, have a big youth setup. There's about 40 teams playing under the youth umbrella. But I think, Michael, you alluded to the fact at the moment the youth side is slightly separate from the club, which seems strange because they're all wearing a club badge, so they should be brought in.
I must admit, until I was my girlfriend's son, he plays in the Russell Foster League, and I was looking at results, and I saw Gateshead FC Juniors, and I didn't know anything about it. Then it turns out that I think maybe 10 years ago, Lowfell Juniors became Gateshead FC Juniors. For about 5 years they were close, but the last 5 years they've had no involvement. But I've had a couple of meetings with Barry Errington since, with regard to try and bring them back under the umbrella of the club, and so we're working on that because it is important.
More questions? Yeah.
Can I ask Michael Williams regarding how the money is being put into the club? Previous ownership, they were printing new shares to put money into the club rather than directors' loans. So come the end of their tenure involvement in the club, as long as the club was passed over for £1, there's no money owed to the previous owners. You had situations such as Darlington, where the money was put in as directors' loans by Raj Singh. So once he left, the actual club owed him a massive amount of money that went bust. So the question is, how is the money being put in? Is it being put in as loans, or is it being put in by printing new shares?
No, there are strict rules with the National League under the terms which a loan can be made to the club. Any money put into the club is gifted, is given by the owner to the club without any strings attached. There is no money being put into Gateshead Football Club that is subject to any loan or any terms of repayment. The Bennetts, I believe, had a loan account when they were there. They were told to put that there by their accountant, but when they left, it was all just written off. So no one's going to get any money out of Gateshead, for God's sake.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, come the end of it, Darlington found themselves in massive trouble. I just wanted to be reassured that, I mean, owners only last for so long. We don't want to be in massive debt come the end of this ownership.
No, there is no money being put into the club that is subject to a loan.
Di Stefano, is he still linked with this club?
No, he's not linked at all. Just for by involving with him, but he has no link to the club.
Well, can someone give him a clout?
I'll do that. I'll pass the message on.
And also, he said about £100,000 shortfall on the budget. Is it true that Richard Bennett left a six-figure debt, and that's why he's sponsoring the club?
Richard left debt behind. But it's gone on record that debt was left behind.
Yeah. Has he got the sponsorship because of that debt to pay it off?
No. There was money owed to the council left behind. There was other creditors owed the council.
So has Richard Bennett put any?
Richard puts money into the club every month as part of sponsorship.
Yeah.
I just want to say about, with regard to financial matters, and we're learning fast and all the time, but the National League are the most stringent league out there, much more stringent than the English Football League, and they are on us like hawks all the time, as Mike will tell you. So everything we're doing, we have an external accountant that we use, and she puts together all the figures and has to send them monthly to the National League and everything. So thank you.
Can I just ask, how realistic is it that Gateshead would get a new football ground? Because I think most of the supporters here are looking forward to having a new football ground that is football ground. In the past, they promised us, 10 years back,
Well, like I said, we're being approached. Well, we'll have the meetings in 3 weeks and have initial meeting and try and find out. But the company involved had mooted something previously, nothing to do with the Prince Consort Road development. But we'll find out more when we meet them. I can't say at the moment.
When would that be?
Sorry?
When would it be? When would you meet them?
We'll meet them in towards the end of February for initial meetings. So just to try and sound things out.
I think that's a big thing why Gateshead aren't doing so well with support. That's what we need. We need a local club that is for us, Gateshead Football Club.
No, I agree from the supporters' point of view to find something that does feel like a home that they could be proud of. Also from a club point of view with regard to raising revenue 7 days a week, and also from a playing point of view that it is sort of being told it's difficult often to play at the Gateshead National Stadium because of be it the atmosphere or be it the wind or be it the how far the fans are from the pitch. Sorry?
It's just not a football
Yes,
club.
yeah, exactly. I agree with that. I actually can see quite often the best performances come away from home where the team are playing a proper enclosed football grounds. So, yeah.
I'll just add to that when Ranjan came over in October, I think, and we got the chance to interview him. We spoke to Don from the club as well. As soon as we stopped the interview, he asked me what the club could do to grow the fan base, and then the follow-up to that was, we know that we need a new stadium, we're considering that, it's something that we know the club needs. So that was unprompted from him. As soon as we stopped the interview, just had a little chat for 5 minutes. I think he mentioned it during the interview, so I guess even though he's on the other side of the world, and I know there's the doubts and the suspicions that remain, it was something that he brought forward himself, and you've touched on it there. It's never gone away in the 10 years since we saw the plans, nearly 10 years for the Prince Consort Road site. So, any more questions?
Just one more. A few people have emailed us some questions to ask if they weren't asked. I must admit, I think just about everything has been asked, and it's been good to actually hear them answered and answered. Hopefully, I'm sure people would agree honestly, but there is one question that somebody's asked us to ask tonight, which I'm going to put out there. It's a bit controversial. Who owns Marcus Manderson's salon clothes?
Who owns it?
Yeah.
Currently, it's in. We're discussing with the Football Association about it, with regard to the contract and, as you say, how it is structured. So that
So
is
it's not straight cut that the club owns it.
Well, actually, the club do own it.
That's what
the club do own it, but it's not as simple as it should be. I'll let Mike ask.
When the sale agreement was drawn up between the Bennetts and Ranjan, the solicitor acting for Richard put a clause into the contract that said any income from the transfer of Marcus Maddison and Bolton, I believe, to Shrewsbury would go to Richard Bennett. That can't happen because it breaches the FA third-party ownership rules. That was picked up by the National League, and this week actually I've been in touch with the FA to say that both Richard and Ranjan will sign a new agreement taking that clause out. So any money coming into from the transfer will come directly to the club.
And stay in the club.
And stay. I believe you'd have to go for more than 2.5 million before we get anything. And there's a 20% sell.
Yeah.
Just about Marcus Maddison, since he went, the clubs they've had $500,000 with regard to the various clauses. The only one clause left is if Peterborough get promoted, we'll get to the Championship, and he's paid more than 50% of games, we'll get £75,000. Currently, I mean, no one knows if that release clause is true about 2.5 million, but if he went for 2.5 million, we wouldn't get anything because we've already had the 20% of that. So if he went above 2.5 million, the club would get some money.
And just to be clear, because I know maybe not everyone can hear at the back, just about that clause regarding the sell-on for Maddison, that was, you said, Mike, put in by the accountant acting for Richard Bennett rather than, the solicitor, sorry, acting for Richard Bennett, rather than Richard himself, because I know that, the tendency in the modern world would be for maybe people to go away from here and then start questioning Richard on social media if he's still on. But that was from the solicitor. They put that into the agreement.
Yes, it was. I wasn't party to the actual agreement, but what I've been told since is that the solicitor acting didn't have a knowledge of FA rules and regulations. And certainly, if that had come across my desk, it would have been picked up. But it has been picked up now, and it is being corrected. So there's no danger of that money, if it does in fact happen, not coming to the group.
Any more questions? It's 25 to 10, so maybe just 5 more minutes. If anyone's anything else that they want to ask.
Well, there's 2 points. One of the lads over there said about the Towns Club. I noticed down at Dunstan in the FA Cup tie, the advertising ordinance, they didn't go for the big fish. They're all little local corner shops, companies, things like that. Alright? It can be great income, but it's income. And secondly, can we please get into the schools? I've said it for years. This town, this club, needs to get into the primary schools, not the secondary schools. By the time you get into the secondary schools, the kids have chosen their teams. They're all supporting Newcastle, Sunderland, City, United, whatever. If you get them early, get them to the stadium, you never know, they might get the book. My lads have been brought up as Gators supporters since we were born. They know nothing else.
So you inflicted on them?
Yes. Probably down to the NSPs, and I see what they honestly believe we need to get into the primary schools, not the secondary schools. But all the coaching's great. We need to do something with tickets, something like that. I'm not on good free tickets, but just to get the primary school kids in.
I've done the same. Get me kid looking at Gators.
Just a couple of points, I'll pass on to Ben. With regard to sponsorship, again, being in the stadium, you'll see there's a lot of council banners up and Go Gateshead banners, and we'll be told we can't move them to put other hoarding on. I'll let Ben talk a bit more about the schools programme, but what we are currently doing is for the junior heat club, and when the coaches are going into the schools, we are giving away free tickets for the under 12, and they have to obviously bring the adults across. But Ben will know a bit more, he'll explain a bit more about the schools because he used to deliver.
Yeah, well, me and James did the community, James Curtis, we did the community programme, so we're actually in the schools, and we are trying, like Mike said, they would give free tickets out. We just give 30 out last week to the junior heat club. Are we in 8 schools at the minute? Yeah, we're in 8 schools at the minute, and we are trying to, we understand that, and so it's just a case of keep plugging it and keep doing it and trying to get them to get the bug. And I'm sure once they do come to a game,
I think I'm correct in saying that I think there's 66 primary schools in Gateshead. Yeah. In the borough of Gateshead.
The thing is, we are going, and you talk about Newcastle as well. They're already in there, so it's difficult. It is difficult for us to get in there, but we are trying to build it. I think Mike just mentioned before, the community programme's a lot better now, and we have to come to a stage where we're going to have to try and employ a full-time community officer now. So James jumped ship, didn't he?
Any more questions? Last chance. Anyone? Anything they want to ask?
Does anyone ask? The most controversial question that I've seen is all about green on a white polo shirt. That seems to be the most controversial thing currently.
Well, a green away shirt, how are you, man?
It won't be green next season, the wear shirt.
I know, but it be.
Just one final one, actually, either Mike really on this one. What's the situation with the bond? Obviously, you talked earlier on, Mike, about how the league had been perhaps over-penalising us as a football club compared to the other clubs in the league. I don't know if any of the people here realised that you were required to place a bond with the league. We'd like to get that back when this stuff as well.
Yeah, the Ramjan paid a 200,000 bond at the start, and that's due back on May the 21st back to the club. That was part of the takeover process, especially with foreign owners coming in, really based around the payment of football creditors either players. So that's what the bond's all about. But it's due to come back on May 21st.
Last chance. Any more questions?
Can't think of one.
Well, thank you for your questions, those of you here in the room, and maybe some of you here sent things in advance. I really do believe we have addressed every issue there. I think probably we owe Peter some thanks there, because there's one about the bond that we hadn't got to, and that's just been mentioned, the £200,000 bond that Ranjan paid to the league when he took the club over. So hopefully you feel the issues have at least been addressed. The club have seen all of the questions that came in, so even if we may not have read yours out in the manner that you wanted, it has been read by the people at the club. They are aware that those are some of the things that you wanted answering. I don't know how long Michael and Ben can stay for, but I'm sure they'll chat to you on the way out. You've got one question?
Just remind everybody there's a match tomorrow, Durham Challenge. If you let them know, Matthew.
I think you just have. 7:30.
7:30, but there will be a pitch inspection because it's supposed to get very icy tonight, and so there'll be a pitch inspection tomorrow afternoon.
Just get Callum and Stefano to talk over it pretty quick.
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for supporting the club as you always do, and for turning up in such good numbers tonight. Hopefully this is the first of many, and we'll be able to do this again in a couple of months with the team still in a good position in the league under Ben's management.
Just before we go, we'll arrange another one where myself, Mike Williamson and Busted will do a talk in, and maybe get a couple of the players along. Let's just have it on Saturday then, eh? Yeah, come on.